So we were in, I want to say middle school, probably late middle school. I was maybe 8th grade, 7th grade, something along those lines. And we took a trip. We went out to Montana, stayed in Big Sky specifically. And I don't know if you've ever been out west to Montana in that general locale there, but there's these critters. They're called marmots. And I believe the clothing brand is named after them. But whenever I first got there, I was really puzzled because you kind of see them, squeezing between the rocks of the mountain, ducking. When you walk by, they're maybe 20 yards off, and they'll duck behind a rock or something like that. And they're big. They're like beavers. They're literally maybe a little smaller than beavers, but I mean, it's the same general idea as a beaver without the tail, right? So they're these big, fluffy creatures that dwell in the rocks. They're cave dwellers, and they make this call, this high-pitched kind of screech whenever they want to call out to their friends that there's danger around. So obviously flying from Milton, Florida to Big Sky, Montana, we weren't going to check any weapons or anything like that. So whenever we got there, my dad goes to, I don't know, maybe like an Academy Sports or something like that, buys a pellet gun, one that you pump, kind of similar to what we had on the camping trip recently. He's like, you know what? We're going to get one of these dang marmots. I don't know what the law is, frankly, and I might be indicting myself on that, but I don't know what the law is around the marmots, but I didn't really care at that point in time, to be frank with you. So we go through, and it's me, my brother, and I have cousins that are triplets, and the three of them. So it's the five of us, and my dad's kind of hanging back watching as well. So really 6 in total. And so we find one, and it kind of peeks its head above the rocks, and we're maybe 30 yards away, and my brother Trevor, he takes the first shot. And there's always, I don't know if you've ever shot anything before, but right before you squeeze that trigger, brass F, you want to breathe, relax, aim, slow squeeze, fire. And you want it to kind of catch you off guard whenever you do that. That way you don't pull it, you don't anticipate the shot or anything like that. And I'll tell you what, he made a beautiful shot on this marmot. But the marmot hide is, like I said, similar to the beaver. It is a tough, thick hide. And I believe the pellet, I think it ultimately penetrated the marmot, but it wasn't a kill shot. And so from there on out, we essentially chased this marmot around the mountain, down the mountain, up the mountain. And they don't climb trees, right? So it's great because they're on the same playing field as us. He would dip between the rocks for a couple minutes. He would poke his head up. Boom, we'd tag him. He would run off 30 yards, pass the gun to somebody else. We're running, pumping the pellet gun. Eventually, we cornered him on the side of the house, and we kind of gave him one last smoke before he met his untimely demise. But those are just the things that we get around to, on vacations. A lot of people like to chill in a hot tub. We certainly did that, but a lot of people do different things than they do at home. And it seems like me and my clan, whenever we go to different places, you just got to scratch that itch, if you will. So it seems like we end up bringing a lot of where we're from. We end up bringing it with us, and maybe it negatively affects the wildlife in the general area, but we had a really good time, and that's certainly something that I'll never forget is chasing that marmot around. I really wish we could have, skinned him and either sent him to a taxidermist or or tan the hide or something like that, he would have made a beautiful shower rug. You step out of the shower, it's a little chilly out, maybe mid-January, maybe January 21st or something. Tiles all cold. Oh, let me just step right onto this marmot hide. Seems like it would be a cozy thing to do, but that was just a little anecdote from my childhood. And like I said, whenever we go on these trips, we always try to bring as much fun as we can into it, and that's certainly one of the ways that we bring joy to ourselves.
That was quite beautiful. And it took me back about 8 months ago, 9 months ago, when we discussed the beauty of the beaver. As you shared with us, the hide is similar. Maybe what better place to murder marmots than in Montana?
The backdrop is spectacular. I'll say that. I mean, definitely one of the more scenic places that I've ever killed something.
I think that's the title of a book. Hear me out. Murdering Marmots in Montana. Say that 10 times fast.
You certainly get your alliteration in that way.
The Montana Marmot Murderer. Oh, we've just gone from a short story to a murder mystery.
A whodunit, if you will.
A whodunit. And it all leads to one episode of the Quite Frankly podcast. We send them on a scavenger hunt. That is the theme of the book, is throughout the book, you need to find clues in your life. And what ends up happening is it sends them, last chapter, last sentence. Quite frankly, you will never know who the Montana Marmot Murderer is.
And you've wasted the last 3 weeks of your life searching for him. Oh, did I say him? Is that another clue? You'll have to wait for the second book to drop.
No, but that's quite fun. And it makes me think, guns. Usually you need guns to kill a marmot. Like you shared with us, you cornered the marmot. And you know who else likes guns?
Who's that?
One of our faithful listeners and supporters. Also one of our sponsors of this podcast. Williams Lawn Care. Williams Landscaping. Andy Will has turned 33. And I don't actually know if that's the number. But what I do know is it is his birthday. And I thought nothing more beautiful than both of us singing happy birthday to him right now. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Andrew. Happy birthday to
You.
and many more.
He doesn't look a day past 24. I'll say that. He is a beautiful man. No doubt he probably would have dispatched the marmot in a more humane manner than myself. Definitely not proud of that, but he's a better man than I. So,
And if you haven't got to learn more about Williams Green and Clean, go ahead and watch our episode with Andy Will. You'll find him at Andrew Williams. And if you need your lawn cleaned, lawn mowed, He doesn't pick up sticks. That's one of his only things that he doesn't do. No stick,
Big.
no stick picker upper at his company. But other than that, if you're looking for lawn care, go with him in the Lower Georgian, North Florida metropolitan area.
It's true. It's true. Yeah, I was planning on wishing him a happy birthday, and you beat me to it. But I'm glad we could kind of serenade him the way that we did. But really, we love to wish people well. We love to well wish, if you will. Uh, but I want to know how your last 7 days was, dude. More than anything in the world, I want to know how your last 7 days were.
Well, quite frankly, I'm here to share it with you. And also, quite frankly, if I were to put it, well, frankly, I would say it was 7 days committed to deep and generous love. Now, let me unpack what that means, all right? Monday rolls around, Labor Day. It's a day of labor. That's what it means, right? And so 4 a.m., the alarm clock goes off at 3:30. 4 a.m., John Park and I go to the church and paint a studio. Did we need to do it at 4 a.m.? No. Was it more fun because we did? Absolutely it was. And so we did that. That was 4 to 8. At 8:30, I then drove to Johnny and Eve Olguin's house and delighted in some tennis. We played tennis for an hour or so. That was beautiful. I then return to my home, and if I'm being honest, I took a nap. I was quite tired, and so I took a nap. I arose from my nap. Then at 3:30, I went and played basketball with a couple of guys from my life group, one of which was Mando Bando, the Big Red Machine, second of which was Dylan Bossy, Mr. Bossy Man. And that was also just absolutely remarkable. We played 21. For those of you who've never played 21, it's the first to 21. Well, you can also tip people, and that breaks them back to 0. So our game of 21 lasted 90 minutes. It was quite tiring. It was, frankly, my legs were shot. But it was a good day. Good day. Tuesday rolls around, life group. Life group is just phenomenal. 1 Corinthians 2 and 3. What do we learn? Anybody? Yes, you are exactly right. That is precisely what we learned. And it was a powerful moment. It really was. And so, what then did we do? Wednesday rolls around. Frankly, I don't remember much about Wednesday. Yeah, I got nothing. I'm so sorry. But what I will say is Thursday also came the next day. And Thursday was great. Thursday we had a Unity party meeting. And we had our first in-person Unity party because I'm going to be honest, it's hard to get the people together. It really is, because all of us are on the campaign trail doing our own things, spreading unity, creating a nation and world where life can flourish. That's the desire. But this we gathered. And you were there. You were. For a time, of course. We have some fresh propaganda for our audience. And so if you'd like some of that, y'all need to let us know. But that was really, really great. Friday rolls around. Friday's another great day. I can't put my finger on what I've done on Friday, but it was great. I do know that. Sorry, I'm so forgetful right now. Again, I should write a journal. Saturday rolls around. Saturday is a great day. Some of our people gathered to play pickleball. There was about 16 of us on Saturday morning. We hit up Northside Park. We overtake Northside Park. We're meeting new people left and right. Absolutely incredible. Saturday then hits. I would go watch the Texas Longhorns. They won. That was great. And I get a call from my boy Adam Perry. He says, "My brother, what are you doing for the game tonight?" Speaking of the Florida versus Sam Ford game. And I said, "Adam, here's my conundrum here. I can either lie on my couch in the comfort of my own home, or I can spend time with a brother. And I lean hard and heavily to spending time with a brother." And so Adam and I went on an adventure, and we got to sit in what the people call the touchdown terrace. Frankly, a lot of the touchdowns were scored on the other side of the field, and that's no problem because Adam and I were delighting in some chicken thighs, some creamed corn, and some sausage. Frankly, it was a great day. After that, I'm trying to be young. I really am. I'm trying to take advantage of my days, maximize them. And so after that, we went to Blaze Pizza with some more friends. One of the things I appreciate about someone like Adam is he's always down to stay up and hang out. I wouldn't necessarily categorize myself as that, definitionally speaking. As you can tell, I'm not at every single Florida game. I prefer my home because it's just more comfortable. You're not all greasy, and I can just flip back and forth through channels. Well, I'm passionate about changing some of that because I think some of it is good. And so I enjoyed spending time with my friends. Imagine that you enjoy spending time with your friends. So often we get scared. Now, there's two different types of people in the world. That's a broad generalization, but hear me out. There's the extroverts and the introverts. Now, do I believe in that? No, because it's a social construct, and I don't believe everyone falls into one category. However, there are some tendencies of each that I believe play a factor in the people's lives. And I think most people would agree with that. But I would categorize myself as the introvert side of that equation. However, is that an excuse to act in a poor manner? Sorry, I can't do that because I'm an introvert. That's absolute garbage. That is no good reason. And we got to change that. That's not an excuse. And so I can't let that be an excuse for me either. Sunday rolls around. Sunday's a great, great day. Sunday, we continue our series about Full House at church. Full House is all about the Holy Spirit's role in your relationships. Specifically this Sunday, we talked about define your mate before you date. Let me re-say that. Define your mate before you date. Now, the whole point is you're never going to find the right person for you, right? There is no right person for you. There is a broad category, I believe, and I think the scriptures say what a marriage should consist of, about unequally yoked do not. Does that mean if you are married to a non-believer that you are living in sin? No, it does not. It does not. But before you date, if you still have that opportunity, define your mate. Be committed to the same platform was one of the things. Are we running the same race with the same amount of endurance with the same goal in mind? And frankly, your race individually will be a lot harder if you and your mate are not running that same race together. It's a different relationship dynamic, my friends. Sunday afternoon rolls around. Sunday afternoon, we have a photography-videography team meeting. Absolutely phenomenal. There are some people who dedicate their time, who have full-time jobs, who are willing to serve the church with their gifts is unbelievable. but it is believable because God calls us to do it. And so, frankly, listeners, if you are a believer in Christ Jesus and you are at a local church and you are not serving at your local church, do not diminish the gifts that God has given you. Use them and steward them well, because they are a resource. And what shall we do with our resources, my friends? We shall steward them for the glory of the Lord. Because to be quite frank, we would not have those resources without Christ. 1 Corinthians 4 specifically says that. What do I have that Christ has not already given to me? Nothing. Nothing. And so when we have that perspective, it's quite a beautiful thing, because nothing is on our shoulders other than the responsibility to glorify God in everything we do. And we trust and believe that the Holy Spirit is working both through and in us to help us do so. You see, the Holy Spirit is the helper. Do we believe he's the helper? Do we turn to the helper in every circumstance? That's rhetorical, something to think about. Sunday late afternoon rolls around. The Dallas Cowboys play. What's so funny?
You went from Sunday night to Sunday late afternoon.
And so the Dallas Cowboys play, and it was great. I was pleasantly surprised. But that really concluded my week. It's been an impactful week, just as I had hoped and prayed for. One of the things I need to work on this week, I'll be frank with you, is I need to get into the gym, right? And gym's not a person. Gym is a place with equipment. And I did missed out on sharing one key ingredient from my Wednesday. Wednesday I spent with Dave. Dave and he helped me. You know, I went on a journey with my torn quadriceps. And to the commoner, you may think quadriceps is 2 quadriceps. However, my friends, quadriceps is 1. You have a left quadriceps and a right quadriceps. I myself did not know that information beforehand, so I thought it would be helpful to share that publicly. Well, Dave shared with me that he's going to help me get rid of this chronic pain. Frankly, it's not chronic. It's caused by a body's response telling me I've overworked it. You need to calm down. My kneecap is higher on my left side than my right side. And so what we are now doing is we are stretching the quadriceps back and forth, getting it nice and elongated. Because, frankly, my quadriceps was quite tight. I had a 115 degree of rotation in my left quadriceps and a 165 degree of rotation in my right quadriceps. And so there needs some elongation in my left quadriceps, and that's what we're working toward. But my desire to be in the gym is going to help toward that, and it's just good discipline and practice. And so physical therapy that was with my boy Dave, and it was phenomenal. Really, that was my week.
Well, it sounds like it was jam-packed. I noticed you said something about introverted versus extroverted, and I think I totally agree with your stance on it, of saying, look, it's fine if, how do I say this? I think people define introvert or extrovert based on, what gives you energy, right? They say, oh, does being around people give you energy? Or does being alone by yourself give you energy? And I think that's kind of a silly way to approach your personality. Like, it's kind of similar to the whole Enneagram deal that was very popular like 2 years ago, 3, 4 years ago. Molly would always say, oh, you like this or you don't like this because you're an Enneagram 9. And I'm like, no, I think I'm an Enneagram 9 as a result of my personality things. It's not like at the time of my birth, God reached down and said, I imprint on you an Enneagram 9, and from now on you will live by the ways of the Enneagram 9, and you have no option but to live by that. So it seems like a lot of people take it that way, like, oh, I'm introverted, so I shouldn't go to whatever, this hangout or a Bible study or something like that. Seems like it's, and I don't even know if I'm an introvert or an extrovert. I've never really asked myself that question, but like you said, seems like a lot of times it's used as an excuse to not do things. Because honestly, I mean, a lot of people would rather chill out at the house, right? Um, Maybe they would consider themselves introverts because of that. But I've heard people say, I'm an extroverted introvert, or I'm an introverted extrovert. And whenever you get to that point, I'm like, dude, you're on your own. If someone comes up to me and says, they're talking, we're having a good conversation, and they say, oh, I think that's because I'm an introverted extrovert, they're going to continue talking. But at that point, my brain said, nah, I don't think it's worth listening to this person. The lights are on, but nobody's home type situation. But yeah, no, I totally agree with you that it is used as an excuse a lot. But I'd love to get your thoughts on that and the Enneagram as well.
Yeah, I'd love to share them. I don't think there's nothing wrong with being an introvert or an extrovert. But at the end of the day, I don't believe one falls into the category of introversion and extroversion at all points in their life. It's just a tendency, the majority tendency, right? And so people are extroverted in certain situations and introverted in other certain situations. Again, I guess that depends on how you define it. You could define it as people are outgoing in certain situations. But then you have to define what even is energy, right? Right? Because if I'm alone, where do you get your energy? I don't necessarily feel like I'm energized when I'm alone. Here's what I do feel. I feel like I'm resting when I'm alone. Right? Same thing. After I am not good in groups of 4. That's just something I've identified in my life. And does that mean I never get in groups of 4? No. But it does mean that I have identified that and I know that about myself. And so I can work on that and be better. I am better and I prefer groups of 100 over groups of 4 because I can entertain at that capacity. Groups of 4, there's a lot of conversation going on, and I just love to listen. And so when we're so intimate with one another in a non-romantic way, I love to listen. But if I am in charge of a group of 20 to 100 to 1,000, I love it because it's entertainment. But I also love one-on-one. Right? I could talk to you for hours upon hours, and it's just a beautiful thing because it's back and forth. It's tell me how you feel. What is energy? What is introversion and extroversion? Quite frankly, why do we do a podcast? Why do we do a podcast? And it takes us back to our mission. It is to love people deeply and generously. And if we are not viewing it through the lens of that, then the question of why do we do a podcast must be answered. And so my thoughts on introversion and extroversion, it can't be an excuse to not do something, but it's also good to know what your tendencies are so you can improve. Because frankly, the Bible does not say introversion is bad, extroversion is bad. Frankly, the Bible doesn't even bring those two categories up that I know of. Disclaimer, I have not researched introversion and extroversion specifically in the Bible. henceforth I said that I know of. What I do know the Bible says is that we need to glorify God in everything we do. And so if our introversion or extroversion is keeping us from sanctification, glorifying God, helping others know Christ better, then it becomes a problem. Those are my thoughts. Introversion, extroversion, though, that's a social construct created by society in order to put people in boxes to deal with them better or to deal with themselves better. Same thing with the Enneagram. Now, I did see a TikTok that said, is the Enneagram demonic? Was it created by automatic writing? Which means automatic writing is that whoever wrote out the Enneagram, whoever created the Enneagram was controlled by the spirits and was writing automatically. That is what automatic writing is. And
Wow.
yeah. And so we just have to be careful. I don't know if that's true or not, but I was watching a Instagram reel that became famous about it. Either way, even if it's not automatic writing or if it's just human writing, it's just a box. You cannot put yourself in a box and then say, I do this because of blank. No, you are not a 3 on the Enneagram does not have an excuse to not do something that glorifies the Lord because they're a 3. I'm a 1. If there is disorder and chaos, but it's glorifying the Lord in a certain capacity, who am I to say, no, I cannot do that because I am a 1? That is just pride, stubbornness, selfishness. The root of all sin is what? It's pride. And so I think what we experience when we commit ourselves to the Enneagram, to introversion, extroversion, and we commit ourselves to the thinking that we can't do anything, that's just who I am. Who you are is a sinner, my friend, and who Jesus made you to be is more like him. And so when we accept that and when we believe in who Jesus calls us to be, an image bearer of God, a child of God, a servant of God, then the boxes get thrown out and we got a dadgum infinity circle. It's a figure 8 type item and we're just journeying across. And something about the beautiful figure 8 is that it goes up and down. An 8 is not a line. It's not a straight line. And so there is just nothing more beautiful than sold out lives to glorify Christ Jesus. However, it's difficult because here's my personal belief. It is easier for me to say, no, I can't do that because I'm an introvert. I got to have time to myself. I can't do that because I'm a 1 on the Enneagram. I got to have order. I have type A. I can't do that. I can't. It's just
You
not who I am.
have type A?
I'm type A. Type A personality. You got to have things chop. And so
Sorry, I thought you said you have type A, which would
type
lead
A
me to believe
diabetes.
that you have some sort of either diabetes or there's a blood. What is the blood? The one where you get from using dirty needles. Yeah, you get type C,
That's
you get
HIV.
type A. No, not
Hepatitis
HIV.
C.
Hepatitis. I got A. I have A. I have
I have
hepatitis
hepatitis A. I can't do it. Those are all, aside from hepatitis, that's an actual disease. But your personality changes. You are not your personality. You are not your feelings. You are who God says you are, an image bearer of Christ, a servant of him, a person who Christ died for. And I think that's what's beautiful, is that is what motivates and drives how we act, what we do. Not an Enneagram, not a personality test, not introversion and extroversion. Everything we do is influenced by the desire to know God more and point people toward him.
So from what I'm hearing is that we need to make our own system. because the systems that are currently in place are incredibly flawed.
Yeah, and
Um,
the quite frankly system.
right. I think for you, we could. I mean, I would love to really delve into like different, like medieval characters that people like, personalities that people fall into. Like you said, if I'm in front of 1,000 people, I want to entertain. So maybe I would put you in the jester category. You know what I mean? But like you said, you don't have to live in one box. You can be the jester for a few hours, and then you could go to, I don't know, what's another medieval person? I really just know jesters and knights.
Vikings, kings, queens, jacks,
Aces.
spades, two of diamonds.
Oh, goodness. Well, we really went down the hole there.
We
And
did.
by we, I mean you. But I asked you the question. That's the great thing
You
about
asked
a
me the
podcast,
question, and I really hope I answered it. I really hope I did.
Oh, I think you did. And then some.
Nope. I just answered the question.
Well, sounds like you had a pretty
You need to
incredible
stop
week.
talking. You really do, and you need to then tell me about your past week. Tell me about the 7 days of your life.
Well, they were good. They were busy. Monday, like you said, was Labor Day. So we went to, there's this playground in Sarasota. It's in like the UTC area around Nathan Benderson Park, the big lake. You've been there before, I'm pretty sure, right? Yeah.
Yes.
So they're building a new aquarium there, and I think they're going to keep the sharks in the big lake where they do the rowing qualifiers. So that's a little sidebar, but kind of fun. Um, but they have a playground there, so we went and met up with some of our friends from church, and they brought their kiddos, and it's just so good. It's a nice, clean playground. It's got the sunshades over top. They're like, like 30 feet up in the air, but it's the big fabric sunshades. Keeps it like 30 degrees cooler than what it actually is. You get the breeze flowing off the lake or pond. I don't really know what they refer to it as, but um, stopped by Foxtail Coffee, got a little drink ski before going to the playground. So really pretty hard to beat that morning. Of course, Stetson had an incredible nap after that, running around for several hours in the heat. That'll get you. I needed a nap after it, but he definitely took a really, really good nap. Um, let's see. After that, just kind of hung out the rest of the day. Um, Watched the end of the Florida State versus Boston College game. Um, I know from some folks from Boston who were cheering for Boston College, and I won't disclose who I was cheering for, but I was cheering for the same team that they were. That's all I'll say. Um, Monday, I went up to Brandon, the project we're doing up there. My superintendent was he went back home for the week, so he took the whole week off, and me and my project manager kind of covered the job all of last week. So pretty much every day for work, I drove up to Brandon, opened up the job site, and then kind of worked the whole day from our trailer there. Um, Wednesday night we had the first class. It's like a marriage and family specifically Bible study class, and so our associate pastor was the one leading that. And whenever they said the group was going to be meeting in our typical Sunday school group, and our Sunday school class is, I mean, we're pretty much at capacity in that room. And they were extending this class to the entire church. And I was like, look, I know like 80% of our class is going to be at this thing. If we get anybody else, there's no way we're going to fit. So we go and we pull up and yeah, they had to bring in an extra like 50 chairs or something like that. Probably not 50, probably like 25. Either way, had to bring in a bunch of extra chairs because there's just so many people in there. But we had a lot of our friends that went. Todd and Kristen went. Andy and Karina were there. Jacob and Amber. I mean, it was really an all-star crew that pulled up on the Wednesday night. So I think we're going to be going Wednesday nights for the next couple months, and that's going to be exciting stuff. You know, it's pretty old school going to church on a Wednesday night, but you love to see it. You love to do it. Also, I almost forgot. Wednesday before we went to church, we said, look, Chick-fil-A, they've got their new, well, it's not new, but they brought it back. The pimento, hot honey, pimento cheese sandwich is back. I don't know if you saw that or not.
I did not, but I know you're a big fan.
Oh, dude, the first few months of this podcast were solely dedicated to the hot honey pimento cheese sandwich. And
the old HHPC.
Yeah, it was, oh man, it's so good, dude. So good. And so we sit and, we're running a little behind because we always are, frankly. And Molly's like, you mentioned Chick-fil-A, she's pregnant, so we can't just pivot last second and get something else because she will, I don't want to say she'll lose her mind, but when you're pregnant and you get, you tell yourself you're going to have some sort of food, and with Molly specifically, that's one of the things that I learned early on whenever we started dating each other was don't promise to get Chick-fil-A and then because you're running late say, oh, Chick-fil-A's got a super long drive-through. We'll actually just go to McDonald's because she will be devastated. Done that before, been there, done that. Not going to do it again. So I said, look, if we're 20 minutes late to this thing, it'll be okay. So the drive-through was slow, which is atypical for a Chick-fil-A. We go through, we order, we pull around, they hand us 2 bags of food, 2 drinks. I hand it to Molly and I just book it because I'm trying to get on the interstate, get over to the church as quick as I can. We ended up making it pretty much exactly at the time that it was supposed to start. I think it was 6:30. I look in my bag for the food. Molly got a wrap with fries. I got the sandwich with fries. I look in one bag. It's just got a wrap. Look in the other bag. 2 fries and some sauces. And I said, and if you're not watching on YouTube or Spotify, I'm just have the most disappointed and distraught look on my face. I was livid. You go to Chick-fil-A to get incredible service, which we did get good service. They were kind. They were, well, maybe not quick, but they were kind. But you want that consistency. Your order's always right. And this time it just wasn't. And if it was McDonald's, I'd be like, it's typical McDonald's or anywhere else. But when it's Chick-fil-A, they've set the bar really high for themselves. And unfortunately, they failed on Wednesday night. They failed hard. So I am going to have to, I didn't call the restaurant to get my money back. I don't really know how to get my money back, if there's any sort of reparations that I can get.
We could start a GoFundMe.
We could start a GoFundMe. Set the goal at like $4. But one thing that's funny is there's a fella that just moved to town, and I think he came to our Sunday school class once, and he introduced himself. Hey, I'm a new manager at the Chick-fil-A on this state road. I won't give away the location because I don't want to disparage the man on the podcast, but this was about 3 days after that. And I said, Bubba, I'm glad you're coming to town, but we've got some work to do. We've got some things to clean up, as they say. So I'm hoping that he's able to crack down on whatever the heck happened on Wednesday, because I've never seen it before, and I pray I never see it again out of Chick-fil-A.
Maybe they knew what had happened and they fired the old manager. And 2 days afterward, they hired another man and he was there that Sunday.
Maybe. Like, this dude just keeps forgetting. This is a special sandwich. This dude just keeps forgetting them. His sole job is to put the hot honey pimento cheese sandwiches into the bag, and he's, I don't know, passed out in the kitchen or something like that.
Yeah, too much hot honey.
Too much hot honey. Somewhere along the way, somebody failed at their job, and it was probably a 17-year-old kid that works behind the cash register. But unfortunately, that's just the world that we live in these days. So Thursday, I went to work, and I had agreed to this like a month prior, and I totally forgot until my buddy texted me. But my friend Alec from the Alec Light Memorial Golf Tournament, he put together a group of guys. Yeah, may he rest in peace. He posthumously put together a group of guys to go golf after work, to play 9 holes, a little 9-hole scramble after work. And I had agreed to it. And really the week was so busy that if he had asked me again, I probably wouldn't have done it, because Stetson was in a really poor mood that day. But I didn't want to back out on my buddy. And so I went, we played golf. I rode with Jacob. We played some golf. And it was just an incredible time, man. It was so good. I love playing in a scramble with folks that are a little bit better than me. And there was one guy who was a lot better than me, and he was just off his game. But it's nice to be able to use some of your shots every now and then. There was a big storm that rolled through on the 9th hole. We were coming home. We hit our drives, and lightning struck a tree about 30 yards away from us. And we should have driven straight to the clubhouse, but we did not. We swerved off onto the fairway. One of the guys just piped a drive right down the middle. I left my ball off in the rough. I was like, don't even pick it up. Let's finish this out, because we were like 2 strokes ahead of the other team. I get up there. I think we're 70 yards out. I pull my 64 degree. No, not 64, 56 degree. Put it like 10 feet from the pin. I was like, oh, why can't I do this when I take my time? I just ran up to the ball and smacked it, and it was a great shot. So we ended up making birdie, and we were up there putting as the lightning was just popping all around us. And the guys in the cart barn I think they were pretty upset with us, because we stayed until the very last minute, and they had to brave the weather a little bit to get us unloaded and wash the cart. So looking back, probably should have tipped them a little bit, but I did not. So
Thank you for sacrificing your life and getting struck by lightning 3 times. No tip. Just a good review on Google.
yeah, not even that really. Just a hearty thank you as we walked
hearty
away.
thank you.
Just a hearty thank you.
Thank you so much.
Let's see here. Friday during the day, I worked from home because we were supposed to have a concrete pour at 2 a.m. on Saturday morning. And I was going to be the lucky dog who got to go in and work that 2 a.m. concrete pour on Saturday. So they said, look, work from home, work, but take it easy. I said, look, if there's something I can do well. It's take it easy. So I did just that on Friday. I took it easy. I actually cleaned a decent amount around the house. Um, looking around, it looks like a pigsty now just a few days after, but that's the way it goes sometimes. Um, and then I found out at like 4 o'clock on Friday, hey, the pour is canceled. No need to come in tomorrow. And I was definitely happy about that. Um, Friday night, we had a men's ministry, uh, kind of a fun activity group. Um, it was called Card Night. And so we had barbecue from Mission Barbecue. One of my buddies came and gave his testimony. And then after that, we played poker, which is one of the craziest things that I would never expect at a Southern Baptist church. We did not bet. We didn't put any money in. So we were playing. It was free to play. Therefore, it was not gambling. I want to come out and say that immediately. Um, the winner did get a gift card, but it was still not gambling, if that makes sense.
What's wrong with gambling?
I personally, and this is a personal thing, I don't have anything against it if, as long as it's not, an addiction, as long as you're not causing somebody else around you to stumble. But I think as a general rule, as a church function, you're going to want to play it safe, right? And be kind of conservative in that aspect. So I'm playing poker. We talked a few weeks ago about my second ever time playing poker. Did not go well, right? Well, this time, look, I've got it all figured out. It's my third time playing poker, and I get 4 or 5 of the luckiest hands of my life. I didn't even know what they were. It felt like it was good. I said, I think this is something that you're supposed to try to get. I put a lot of money in. Someone else tried to match me, and I beat them several times. So after like an hour of playing, they took the top 6 chip counts and made a final table. And I made the final table. I think I was the third highest chip count. And I'm sitting here, I've got buddies there who have played poker dozens of times, and they're sitting there watching me because they're out of money. And I'm like, I don't even know half these hands. And one of the guys, my buddy Todd, he was standing over my shoulder, like commenting between each round, like what I should do differently or what I did well, kind of coaching me a little bit. And he was like talking about these combos. He was like, oh yeah, you could have gotten this. And I was like, I didn't even know that was a hand. I didn't even know that was a good thing. He's like, how did you make it to the final table? And I frankly have no clue. So I ended up getting out. I think I got 4th place. No gift card for me, but I was proud that I made it out of like 30 people. I made it to the final table. And I was wheeling and dealing with some big dogs at the table there. That night, the Eagles and the Packers played football. Very unfortunate. The Packers lost. It was a squeaker, as they call. And so later that night, Todd texted Jacob and me. He was like, hey, the men's ministry thing is over. Y'all trying to hang? And it was probably 9:30 at that point. So I went home, changed. We grabbed some stogies and went over to Jacob's house and watched the end of the Packers game. Had some nice, refreshing cigars, and just talk shop. You know what I mean? Just guys being dudes. It's hard to beat it. So that was Friday. Saturday was football game, obviously. Florida beat Sanford pretty well. We went out to dinner with Amber and Jacob to Shore, which, as you know, I think you've been to Shore, right? Once,
Yes.
twice, maybe? Phenomenal restaurant. Probably my favorite restaurant. Not probably, definitely my favorite restaurant in the area. Shore on Longboat Key is so hard to beat. Got a babysitter, so it was a little date night, little double date. Just nice to get out, relax a little bit, and just hang out with some friends. So that was a really good time. And then Sunday, just did church and Sunday school, and that was kind of it. Just watched a little bit of football after that. But as I said before, the Packers had already played, and I, you know, quite frankly, don't really care about any other NFL games. They're all pretty mindless to me. So I'll just put them on in the background and go and do something else.
It sounds like a great week, man. Um, from poker at church to 2 a.m. canceled concrete pours. There's nothing better and nothing more mysterious than the man who murdered the marmots.
That's right. That's true. Dude, you don't know how excited I was when they said, I mean, I bought the energy drinks. I was like, I'm about to just crack a rain at like 6 a.m. because this is not going to be
True.
fun. I mean, I was going to have to wake up at midnight because it was in Brandon. So you drive an hour north, get there at 1 o'clock, get the pump set up, all your lights, and then 2 a.m. the trucks start rolling in. But look, we avoided it, and I am very excited that we did avoid it. But it was a phenomenal week. Looking back, I mean, really every piece of it was so good. So I'm very, very thankful for that.
Yeah. And you know what else is phenomenal is my mother, your mother-in-law, purchased an Egg is Meat tote bag. And her exact words were, "This held up." And it's quite frankly one of the greatest pieces and articles of merchandise I've ever purchased. And so if that doesn't convince you to go and purchase an Egg is Meat article, I quite frankly don't know what will. There's just lots of opportunity around us, lots of opportunity for support. And thank you, Mother, for your support in that capacity.
It's true. It's true. We do have, we've still got all of our other merch items from the past year or so. But the Egg is Meat is really very special and near and dear to my heart. So it's pretty incredible she was able to procure that bag, that tote bag. And I'm glad to hear that it held up. We love all of our merchandise, and whenever I see it around town, I'm always, it warms my heart a little bit. So,
and let me actually offer this as kind of confirmation that egg is indeed meat. This is good. In the states of Idaho and Iowa, there has been a salmonella outbreak from a local farm. About 40 egg eaters have gone to the hospital within the past week with a case of the salmonella. And you know what one thing they had in common is? One thing.
What's that?
They all ate eggs. And you know how you get salmonella?
Raw food, right? Raw meat.
Raw meats. And let me tell you, man, that means one thing. Egg is meat.
If they're ever, that's the most convincing argument that anyone could ever give. So it's pretty encouraging to have 40 people go to the hospital like that and totally prove our point. The evidence is rock solid. Rock solid.
And if you want to take a stand if you do want to take a stand for egg being meat, we have the perfect opportunity for you. You want to proclaim this from the mountaintops so people can know that salmonella is an possible outcome of egg eating because egg is meat. You need to purchase an article because egg is meat.
Can't argue with that. I'm really I'm really excited about the future of this podcast. I just want to say that. I think we've been
Because
to
egg is meat.
because egg is meat. Frankly, quite frankly, I think we've come such a long way, and I think we're going even greater places. To be honest with you, we are currently in the works of getting a special guest on the podcast. Um, he is. I don't know how much I want to give away. I'd love for it to be a surprise. Um, but let's just say he has touched areas of the country. He's been to the Northeast. He's been to the Gulf Coast, which is, I won't tell you specifically, but let's say the Gulf Coast, but not, well, I was going to say not Southwest Florida, but look, he's been to Southwest Florida as well. Southwest Florida, South Alabama. He's probably been to Gulf Shores, Pensacola, all over the place. Um, he's paid to be a wordsmith and a personality. And I don't even know if I want to really share what his occupation is because I love the mystique. You know what I mean? People come for the mystique.
Absolutely. Don't share what his occupation is, but I do think it's fair to say many, many people see him.
That's the truth. And people look for him. They look towards him in times of trouble. When there is impending doom, sometimes he is the only thing that they are looking for to give them comfort. And that's the truth. I mean, that cannot be disputed. That is
You can take that one to the
thousand-
bank, ladies and gentlemen.
That's right. In the words of Nancy Pelosi, you can take that to the bank. But yeah, he brings joy. He brings solace to a lot
And
of people.
solstice, to be quite frank.
He does. He does it all, man. He does it all. So we're currently working through a contract with his agent, so that we can kind of define the terms of the podcast, make sure that he's taken care of, but also make sure that we're taken care of as well. Frankly, so all I'll say is the negotiations are going very well, and I'm very confident that we can get a deal worked out, and we'll have a super special guest on here in the coming weeks.
Yeah, it's quite exciting. And you know what else is exciting is everybody listens to music, maybe. Maybe I don't want to impend and assume that on anybody, but I do know that Brett listens to music. And so I ask my next question out of that inference. So what is your song of the week?
My song of the week is it's a song by Marty Robbins, which I'm not sure how familiar you are with Marty Robbins. He's one of the greatest Western musicians of all time. I would say he's before country Western, which I would put maybe Waylon Jennings and Willie Nelson in that category. He's before their time. So really, we're looking at late 50s, early 60s here. Marty Robbins, and the song is El Paso. It's an absolute classic, an instant classic, if you will. and I wouldn't say he's underrated, but I think within our generation, oh boy, they're looking over an absolute classic in this one. So we're gonna add it to the playlist. Um, and if you've never heard it, I challenge you to go listen to it, and I guarantee you'll fall in love. So, how about you?
I'm going Never Sing Alone by KXC, Gas Street Music, and the Manor Collective.
That's a mouthful.
It is a mouthful. And to be quite frank, your mouth and heart will be full as you listen to this song and sing this song. As I was listening, I had a little stank face on.
Stank face is hard to beat. There's some of those songs that got a little jive that'll give you the stanky leg and the stanky face at the same exact time. You know what I mean? So
I know exactly what you mean.
I've never heard this one, but I'm gonna try it out and see if my face gets that stank, as they say.
You know what they say when people have a stank face? Stink leg.
That's right. That's right. You could smell it from a mile away. That stanky leg. Well, do you have
any
anything else
final
for
thoughts? Oh, Jinx, you owe me a soda. Do you have any final thoughts for our listeners?
I am dying for someone to leave us a voicemail. We've had one voicemail, shout out Bo, but I am dying for someone to call us in the midst of our recording once again so that we can have a grand conversation. We just yearn so earnestly to speak and interact with our fans, and sometimes it feels like we're on an island out here. I mean, we know people are listening. We get thousands of listens every week, but when we don't hear that feedback, it can be tough. So please leave us a review, subscribe to our subscriber-only content and our regular episodes. Buy some merch, and last but not least, like I said, leave that voicemail. We want to hear from you so badly.
Yes, and shout out Bo Burton. He just messaged us this week once more. And just as promised, he sent us personal invite codes for the Savage Race happening in November. Ladies and gentlemen, join the Quite Frankly podcast at the Savage Race in November. It's going to be absolutely top tier. We're going to do it together, and it will be great. Well, with that, I will leave you with this. We love you deeply and generously, and we're going to see you in 7 days.